Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about wig styling. So this is a synthetic, not lace front, just very cheap wig, and obviously she's in need of some help. So I'm going to start by just straightening it using steam. We have this big steamer here in the costume shop, but you can also just use little handheld little steamers. Those work just fine too. So I've already put it onto this wig block. There's a couple of pins holding it down in the front and then one in the back as well. Just make sure that it's secure and not going to be moving around while you're working with it. You can also just use one of these and pin it down really well to this, but since I have the wig block, I'm going to use it just for my own ease of use. So the first thing I'm going to do is brush out the wig, and so I'm going to start by sectioning it and then brushing it out by sections. So BRB. So I just put it into 4 sections. So there's 2 in the front and then 2 in the back. Turn so you can see. And there. Tighten that up a little bit. And I'm just using a brush with like a soft bristle brush and smoothing it out. You want to be pretty gentle with this, so you're not pulling the hair out. I'm going to hold it here so that I'm not actually pulling the hair from the scalp, and start from the ends and brush it out from the ends. Okay, so I got it pretty much brushed out at this point. Still got some tangles here down at the ends, but trying to finish that out. So I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to start from the bottom layer and work up to the top layer for the hair. So when you're working with synthetic hair like this, you really can't use any kind of hair instruments that use heat. So like you don't really want to use flat irons or curling irons or anything like that, because it'll melt the hairs. So instead we're going to use steam and a brush and flatten it out using that. So just hold the hair up like that. I'm going to do this bottom layer first. And I'm going to take pretty small pieces, just like if you're flat ironing it. The steamer and pulling it straight all the way down to the bottom. Brush that down. I'm going to do that one more time. So now I'm going to continue doing that all the way around the head, and then let down the top layer and do it to the top layer. Wish me luck. So I have the bottom layer pretty much straightened. I'm just going to use the comb to help get any of these extra pieces straightened out. I might just end up trimming some of that bottom layer, like bottom edge off. That keeps getting all knotted up. So I'm letting it hang straight. And I'm just going to take off this bottom a little bit. That's just going to help keep it from retangling again once I start styling it. So much better, right? Okay, half done. Okay, here she is, all straightened. Much easier to work with now. So at this point, I'm just going to let it dry completely and see what we're working with. I'm probably going to do a little bit of a curl because the wig itself is curly. So I'm going to try to put some of that curl back into it and then try to do an updo on it. So I'll report back soon. Okay, so now it's all brushed out and trimmed and looking pretty. And so I'm going to start rolling. Start at the top of the head and roll it up. I'm using hard rollers for this. You can use foam rollers instead. And I need pins. Riley. No, you can't. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna you got it. Where are we going?
Pins.
These?
I'm prepared. Okay. Pins. And they have these holes in there that I'm going to go through and just pin it directly to the block like that. So I'm going to put one on one side and one on the other side like that. So it's just holding it in place like so. And yeah, you can use foam rollers or you can use these. These usually have these guys, but I don't like using them because they create weird creases. Same with the foam rollers. If you use the little snap pieces on it, it creates creases in the curls. And so this is just a nice way to get a nice neat curl without heat. Obviously the tighter the curl you want, the smaller the curling barrel you should use. So I'm using a pretty small one. So I'm just trying to get it back to the tight curls that it was when it was originally set. Okay, so I have all of the rollers in now. Let's see, like so. So the next step is going to be doing some steam to set it. Okay, now that the steam is actually steaming, so I'm just gonna hold it above each of them, try to get a nice even coverage here, and get it almost damp. So it's both the heat and the steam that's going to help set the curls. Make sure that it's completely dry before taking the curlers out. So I'm probably just going to leave this overnight. But yeah, you don't want to take it out while it's still damp, because otherwise the curls are just going to fall immediately. So, yeah. I'm also going to spray it with some of this hairspray. And we're good. Okay, so this is completely dry. I let it sit over the weekend, so it is ready to come down. And I started at the top for creating the curls. I'm going to start around the edges and then work my way up for letting them down so that they're not getting in the way. You just want to make sure that you're getting all of the pins out. Okay, so I've got all the hair let down, and I'm going to kind of shake these curls out a little bit and then do some back combing. So the back combing is going to be especially important if you're trying to get any kind of volume into the hair, especially for like drag looks and things like that. So what you want to do is lift up and tease just at the very top of the hair there, so combing backwards, also called back combing. And it's going to look really ratty at first, but we'll smooth it out after. So this just helps give it a little bit more volume and hide tracks and everything like that too. So don't worry if it looks a bit of a mess. We're going to smooth it out in a minute here. So I'm going to take the brush. And you don't want to brush out what you just back combed. You're just smoothing the hair over the top of it so it looks smooth and pretty. But you're leaving that volume underneath, yeah? Let's see if I can turn this so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. See, the back of this wig has some tracks still showing there, so I'm going to do some more teasing at that point specifically, try and hide that a little bit better. The nice thing about theatrical wigs is that they're not going to be seen close up, and so if they are kind of cheap or old or ragged, it's not really a big deal as much. Because, yeah. Alright, it's a little better. And I'm just going to take some hairspray and use that to set it and finish it. Up some of the curls at the bottom here. When you're doing pin curls, I'm going to start at the top of my head and take fairly large chunks of hair, probably even bigger than that, yeah, and twist. And you're going to keep on twisting until it twists back on itself, and then wrap it up so it creates a nice little pinwheel. And then take two of these and create a crisscross on there, and that will keep it flat down to the head, hopefully. Another way of doing this is doing French braids, and so you can do French braids back. You can also twist back, but twists often will leave a little bit of a bump here. So honestly, it's just finding what works for you and your hair. All right, I'm gonna do this and report back. Okay, so I have my hair up in these little twists all the way around my head. And I think what I'm gonna do is take a few more of these bobby pins and try and flatten them out a little bit more. It's okay if they look messy. This is just trying to get them to lay as flat against your head as possible. So if you have other methods that work better for you, like I said, French braiding or twisting in other ways, or doing like a series of little like ponytails and then laying those flat, there's a lot of different ways that people do this. So just figure out what works for you and your hair. But the idea is that you want it as close to the head and as evenly distributed as possible. So you don't want it to just be like a big bun situated on the back of your head or on top of your head, or like a ponytail. Like it's just gonna stick out and create a weird bulge under the wig. So I think that's pretty good. Hairspray this so that it stays in place, it doesn't slide out of the bobby pins as easily. This is what I meant though by saying after you put the wig on Thursday, it's gonna take a while to get all of this out again. So it's kind of a process and your hair is probably gonna be a bit of a mess. Yeah. So this is a wig cap. It's kind of like a little nylon stocking type thing. And it just goes over all of your hair, helps smooth it out a little bit more, and also gives you something to pin into. So you don't want that to be too rolled up. You want it to lay pretty flat. And you want to make sure that it goes all the way back to your hairline, but make sure that not very much of your own hair is poking out. Get it nice and tight underneath there, yeah? All right, time to put the wig on. So, I find it easiest if you have somebody who can help you. Make sure that it goes down in the back and everything. Almost dropped it. But if you start from the front and then pull it down and around on the sides like so. There are little adjustment things in there to help you tighten it if it's too tight or if it's too loose for your head. This one's actually pretty good. You can take it off again, retighten it, readjust it. Make sure that you don't have any hair tucked up underneath there. Some wigs have clips in them, and so make sure those clips are tucked underneath the wig cap. This one doesn't have any clips though. So I do that. And then you can do some styling on your head to make sure that it looks right. So I'm gonna take some bobby pins and bobby pin it right at the hairline there on either side, because it doesn't have clips and I don't want it going backwards. There we go. Like sliding back off my head. If you're worried about it pulling up in the back, you can also put some down there. And then you can style it just like you would style your own hair. So I'm gonna smooth that out a little bit more.
see what the back of my head looks like very well. Maybe in a mirror or something. But I think that's about it. So, this was a pretty basic synthetic wig styling. I feel like this is just like in a weird position here. But, if it has a lace front on it, you can use spirit gum to adhere it down. Otherwise, it should stay in place pretty well. My roots here, so I don't want to pluck this wig because it's not mine, it's the school's. But I am going to use some makeup and kind of give myself a little bit more of a part there. So I'm just using my base so it'll match my skin tone when I put my stage makeup on, and it will also give an illusion of a little bit more of a part because nobody has hair that thick right along the part. So that'll help make it look a little bit more realistic as well. That's better. You can also trim some of these hairs, create more of baby hair effect for the edges, things like that. But for this, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. There we go. But you can tie it back. This one, I don't think you're gonna be able to do a lot of like updos and stuff with it just because it is pretty thin as far as the wig goes. It's really meant to be worn down, but yeah. All right, have fun.